Hello, everyone.
Hello, Nina.
Hello. So we have people on Teams today, and we also have people online directly via streaming on YouTube. I'm not sure if everyone can see me. Gonzalo, can you confirm? All right.
It's okay, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is DESIGNAE Open Call for Grants and Presentation of Challenges online session. So today's session, we will try to be as short as possible. We will have so multiple things to communicate to you, and we prepare this presentation in several sections. So the first one is just to give a very brief overview about what a cost action is. So many people here, either it's their first cost action or they're unfamiliar with what cost action entails. So we will just give a brief overview about that. Then we will speak about DESIGNAE cost action more specifically, its research objectives, its leadership team, and the different working groups that we already have ongoing. And then we will go through the presentations of the virtual mobility challenges, of the short-term scientific mission challenges, and open call for grants. And finally, we will close the session with the call for hosts. So if you are in a hosting institution that is willing to allocate some resource towards hosting a DESIGNAE event, we would like to know. And we will launch the call online. So without further ado, for people that are online, so we are currently only 13 in Teams to avoid overloading the system. But if you are online on YouTube, please feel free to put in your name, your institution, your country. We would love to know where you're from, what do you do, and this would be very nice to know. So please feel free to put in a comment, and so that we can revisit that later on. Okay, so what is a cost action very briefly? So cost actions aim to bring researchers together from different countries, different disciplines to network around a certain topic. It has specific funds for networking activities, namely meetings, workshops, conferences. It does enable mobility, namely short-term scientific missions, and participation in training school, organization of conferences, and participation in third-party conferences, and it tends to build a shared research agenda or community around a certain topic. So the cost action differentiates between what they call ITC and non-ITC countries. So ITC stands for Inclusiveness Target Countries, which in this map are represented in greenish as this is as presented. So it's mostly Eastern European countries, some of the South as well, and Portugal is considered ITC country, and all in violet are non-ITC countries. They also have wider countries that they call cost near neighbor countries. So it's anywhere around Europe or close to Europe, and third states or international partner countries, which is the rest of the world. So what is funded here? So we have mobility funds for people to meet in certain places, for working group meetings, for workshops, for conferences. We also have funding for short-term scientific missions, which are individual research exchanges that can go from 3, not 5, so 3 to 90 days. To promote skill development and data sharing across institutions. We also have fund to allocate to training schools for young researchers around specific topics. funds for conference grants, which includes the conference fee and the mobility funds. There are 3 types of conference grants, namely Young Research Conference Grant, so anyone below 40 can apply. ITC conference grants, which are specific grants for the ITC countries, and dissemination grants, which are specific for presenting results created by the work groups. And also dissemination materials for DESIGNAE, or anything related to joint publications, the website, policy brief, open access of and outreach as well. So now going to DESIGNAE specifically. So DESIGNAE stands for Fostering Nature-Centered Biodesign to Explore Regenerative Futures. We started this initiative, this networking project, trying to understand what is biodesign, how can it be interpreted. There are many types of definitions according to also the disciplinary background of the people we have involved in the network. We made this initial very rough scheme of different categories of what can be considered biodesign for regeneration. We can go from design inspired by nature, so emulating natural form, processes, and principles, going towards designing with nature, so collaborating and using natural systems and or materials to create new structures, designing for nature, so how can we restore ecosystem which support biodiversity and proliferation, and finally designing as nature, so how can we integrate natural and built worlds to sustain these adaptive co-evolutionary systems and socio-ecological dynamics. There are different challenges that we would like to address during the 4 years duration of this cost action. So the first one is how can we transcend human-centered concerns and mechanistic mindset in bio-inspired sciences and design fields. The second one is how can we integrate ecosystem complexity into regenerative biodesign. Finally, how can we balance environmental viability, technical feasibility, and economic scalability? And finally, also, how can we navigate bioethics, governance, and regulation in biodesign? So there's 7 research coordination objectives. The first one is building a common language and collaboration tools so that we can better communicate amongst ourselves, because the network is currently more or less around 300 people. So, and these people have different disciplinary backgrounds. So we have designers, we have architects, but we also have biochemists and engineers and biotechnologists. And the way they understand and operate within this broad landscape of biodesign is very different. The second one is how can we to create a biodesign knowledge hub, so an online repository of solutions with examples, lessons learned, so specific cases that are developed within the network and that we can showcase online. The third one is exploring new materials, production and computation technologies to improve biodesign and nature-based solutions. The fourth one is developing prototypes in different sectors, so architecture, healthcare, emerging technologies, engaging the public in bioethical dialogue, raising awareness on using nature and biogenic materials into design, create a roadmap for implementation, and also connecting research to industries. So most of the network currently is academic, and moving forward in the second, third, and fourth year, we would really like to expand this network towards more industrial-based stakeholders. So there are 6 working groups within this cost action. Each of them have specific objectives, tasks, which you can read through in the memorandum of understanding, which is a public document you can find in the cost action website and the DESIGNAE website. So these 6 working groups. So we have the first one, which is the umbrella working group, which is bridging life sciences with design. So how can we build this shared foundation for biodesign and development of this common terminology amongst disciplines? The second one is about technologies and materials. So here we have experts in biochemistry, nanotechnology, biofabrication, to advance, develop, reproduce, and scale biogenic materials. And the third one is about computation in biodesign. So how can computation, AI technologies, modeling technologies can help simulate biological processes, enhancing predictive capabilities? Finally, the fourth work group, applications for a generation, is really a work group where we will try to bridge all the lessons learned and all the cases that we collect from the first three working groups and apply this knowledge into either training schools, into PhDs, and really come up with prototypes, models, things that are palpable. The fifth work group connects to the roadmap, ethical conversations about biodesign, regulations about biodesign, as well as implications for education. And finally, the sixth work group is dedicated to dissemination, communication, and training. So each of these work groups have a triangular leadership. So we tried, as we were designing this leadership structure, to have people from different disciplines as well as different countries represented in the leadership of each of those working groups. We also have a grant communication coordinator, who is Gonçalo Gomes, who is online with us as well. Grant award coordinator, which is Luisa Reisig from Germany, and also network balance coordinators, Stefano Brussese, who will look into the balance between ITC and non-ITC representation, as well as male-female representation within the network. So we had already last month in March our first DESIGNAE International Conference. We had 29 different nationalities represented, 71 DESIGNAE members, 100 in situ participants, and 200 viewers online. The development of this first DESIGNAE event, we tried to really have this connection to place. So the entire event was developed in Aveiro, which is a region in Portugal characterized by marshlands, rivers, as well as the ocean. So we have lots of water bodies here. And so we try to use this landscape to also feed into the first event. So this is also the campus of the university, the birthplace of DESIGNAE, which is has different departments. Different departments have different disciplines, and it's really how the university is built that inspired also the foundations of DESIGNAE. So we had a rich program of 2 days, 3 different places, and I will showcase to you. I hope it works. So it's the video of the promotional video of the first conference. All right. So the conference had different moments of engagement, and one of the last afternoon was dedicated to building this DESIGNAE roadmap for and an action plan ladder for the different opportunities which we will present to you today. Just a small note, please feel free to ask questions directly in the chat on YouTube if you're on YouTube, or on Teams if you're on Teams. We will try our best to address these questions at the end of the session. If we do not have time to address these questions, please feel free to go through the cost action annotated rules, which is an online document which is always updated. You can also go to the DESIGNAE cost action memorandum of understanding so that you can try to find some answers to your question. And if you do not find any answer to your questions within these documents, then please feel free to drop us an email. We have close to 300 members, so please be mindful of the emails that you send to us. It's very complicated to respond to everyone, but we will try our best. So for the first calendar year, we already in April, we have 4 in-situ workgroup meetings which are planned, and 2 in-situ workshops as well. The first workgroup meeting will happen in Paris for workgroup 3. There will be 3 workgroup meetings, more or less simultaneous in July. The first workgroup will be in Madeira, the 6th one will be in Vienna, and the workgroup 2 has yet to define a host institution. And finally, we also have in-situ workshops in France, and also in another place which is yet to be defined. So the call for hosts will be presented at the end of the presentation. As previously said, we have different types of grants. For short-term scientific missions, so short-term scientific missions aim to go perform a specific activity, a research activity, knowledge exchange, skill acquisition in a different institution. One of the rules is that the host organization should be located in a different country than the country of affiliation. So for instance, if you are from the University of Aveiro in Portugal, your proposed short-term scientific mission should be in another country that is not Portugal. Again, so this is from 3 to 90 days and up to 180 days for early career researchers or innovators. And this type of grants is to promote skill development and data sharing across institution. So the maximum amount for each grantee is 4,000 euros. Then we have virtual mobility grants. Virtual mobilities are aimed to develop specific activities or tasks within the network which do not require traveling. And we will present the challenges of virtual mobilities in a second. So we have 1.5 thousand euros per grantee for virtual mobilities. Then we have conference grants. So if you have a paper which aligns with the mission and objectives of DESIGNAE, you can apply to this type of conference grant. So they will cover your fees and mobility expenses, and they can go up to 2.5 thousand euros. And finally, mobility grants, which cover daily allowances and travel expenses for events, to participate in events which are specifically organized by DESIGNAE. So either meetings, conferences, or training events. Very important here, so all the calls will open on the 4th of May and will remain open until a suitable applicant is selected or the available funds are already fully allocated. Please do not apply before this day, otherwise your application will be rejected by the grant award coordinator. Beware also that to apply to grants, you should be a part of a work group. If you're not already a part of a work group within DESIGNAE, you can register. The registration to be a part of this network is always open, and you can apply directly via Cost Action, CA 24126. So this is the link. It's very a straightforward application. You will have to input online CV and talk a bit about your contribution and interests, but it's very straightforward. Then please carefully read through the guidelines of each type of grant, because the application requirements and conditions differ amongst the grants. So this information is already online in the grants tab in DESIGNAE.EU. Beware also that for each type of grant, you have a grant report form, which is one page, which is a more or less one-page form that must be submitted via eCost after the completion of the grant activity. And all the grants are only reimbursed after report has been submitted and approved. So you cannot be paid or reimbursed if you do not submit this final form. Also, all applications must be submitted via eCost, and we put here also the link to ease also your application process. And each grant must start and end within a single grant period, so ending 31st of October each year. So the grant periods go from 1st November to 31st October until the end of 2029. So you cannot have, for instance, a short-term scientific mission that starts in the 25th of October and goes up to the 5th of November. This cannot happen. If you also have a conference that falls within that timeline, you cannot apply, because all of it must be closed before the 31st of October. As for the challenges and open calls, so we will start by these virtual mobility challenges and open calls. We have several of them. So virtual mobility corresponds to 1 month of distributed work effort and can last from 1 to 3 months and should conclude, from our perspective, by the end of August, preferably. So we have 7 virtual mobility challenges for you to go through to understand if this fits within your interests. If none of them fits within your interest, you can also apply with your own proposal. But you have to check also the virtual mobility grant application guidelines, which are online. So I'll go through very quickly each of these virtual mobility grants. So the first one is for the first work. It's an alignment between the 3 first working groups. It's to develop a cross work group survey to map the state of art in biodesign for regeneration across the DESIGNAE network. So what we intend is to design the survey to collect cases, project methods, materials, practices within the DESIGNAE network, coordinate the inputs across workgroup 1, 2, and 3 to ensure coherence, avoid repetition of surveys, and implement the survey. So we expect a data set, a data collection protocol out of this virtual mobility. And here you have some of what we think are the required skills for you to apply for this virtual mobility challenge. The second one is closely related to the first one, and this one is specifically to analyze iteratively and report the cross workgroup survey results. It can be a different person from the first virtual mobility grant, and perhaps it can even work together at the same time. So this person will report about this state of art and the key insights that were produced, identify gaps, clusters, and emerging directions from the data. The third challenge is about conceptual design of an online repository for this network. So what we intend here is a preliminary architecture and taxonomy of a repository, align obviously the repository structure with the cross-work group survey, and conceptualize the observatory. So this is not an implementation phase, it's just to think about how does this information make sense to be presented online. So this is why we enhance conceptual framework for the observatory, a repository structure, guidelines for data collection and curation. Here we do require some skills in structuring data, repositories, working with digital platforms. Another challenge specific to Workgroup 5. So Workgroup 5 is dedicated to roadmap, ethics and regulations in biodesign. And what is intended here is to collect existing and legal and policy instruments relevant to biodesign across key geographies. So identify gaps, overlaps, points of friction between regulatory frameworks and biodesign practices, and produce a map. So the owner and coordinators of this virtual mobility are pointing towards somebody preferably that has a background in law, policy, or regulatory studies, some familiarity with biodesign, synthetic biology, or adjacent fields, and has capacity to synthesize research. Another challenge that we present here is the organization of 2 to 4 online seminars. So somebody that will set up a program with an agenda, with speakers and specific topics, will develop communication materials to announce the series and what will be discussed online, and also make a very short document with key insights, participation and engagement, and recorded sessions and documentation. So the recorded session will go directly to our YouTube channel, which is already operating. Another challenge for Workgroup 6, also dedicated to communication, is the design, development, and launch of the DESIGNAE newsletter. So we want to understand what are the communication practices across cost actions, identify which elements we can replicate, and then have a specific template and a collection of a collection protocol of data to put in this template for the newsletter. And one of the main outputs would be the first published issue of the DESIGNAE newsletter. Finally, we also have a challenge which already looks into the conceptual framework and exhibition roadmap for DESIGNAE public dissemination. So the virtual mobility owners or coordinators are Gonçalo, Yelena, and Ines. So the main outputs here are an exhibition concept document. So what is the theme, the narrative, proposed section, the relationship, which hybrid formats could be included, and having a roadmap, so an idea and different sections for implementation as well. So here we do want somebody with experience in exhibition design, curation, communication design in research and cultural contexts. And this specific virtual mobility will also be aligned with the work group meeting, which will take place in Austria, in the Natural Museum of Sciences in Vienna, which is one of the places where the exhibition will take place. So, regarding virtual mobility challenges, please make sure that you have the right set of skills to apply. If we received some feedback from previous cost actions that sometimes people do not comply with the virtual mobility grant, but if this happens, you will not get reimbursed for this work. What we require is this short report and the deliverable, and that's it. If you feel that none of the virtual mobility challenges that are here fits within your interests and what you could bring and you can contribute towards DESIGNAE, please feel free to apply with your own proposal. But always check the guidelines for virtual mobility grants. And for virtual mobility grants, I think that's it. You have this information is already online. You can check it out in DESIGNAE.EU/grants. So you will access each of the grants, as well as a detail of each of the challenges and the documentation that is required to apply. So the guideline, the application form, the report form, so after the virtual mobility, and the review form for reviewers only. So when you make an application, if 2 people apply for the same virtual mobility, there will be a reviewer that will evaluate each of these applications. Now moving on to the short-term scientific missions. So short-term scientific missions aim to visit a host institution located in a different country than your country of affiliation to develop specific work. Again, 3 to 90 days. Short-term scientific mission grant support, but do not fully fund travel costs and also provide a daily allowance during your stay. We have 4 short-term scientific mission challenges. Again, if you feel that none of these short-term scientific mission apply to your interests and what you can contribute towards DESIGNAE, you're also free to present your own proposal. I'm going to ask Eleni to come forth.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So just to give a few words about this scientific mission, basically it rests upon the research coordination objective of the action, which is to establish this common terminology among multidisciplinary collaborators. So it will happen in Syros, a Natura area in Apano Meria, and the idea is to bring together people from these 2 different disciplines that the network really has, so they can collaborate and together find the terminology to create this kind of place-based methodology for multi-species community design and hopefully co-author a joint paper.
Okay. Thank you, Eleni. I will now move to the second short-term scientific mission, and will ask Adrien to come forth.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Nina. Thank you very much. Yeah, so this is a scientific mission relating to a larger research project, which is, there's a link here, which is called Relational Tectonics. And essentially it investigates relational design, particularly around bioregionality, around locality of design. So this is a field research located in France, and in particular watershed that is both splendid and really interesting in terms of legacy of woodwork. And the host institution would be the School of Architecture in Grenoble.
Okay. Thank you, Adrien. And now I will move to Pierre.
Yes, hello. This challenge focuses on actually an intervention which is done in the city on creating tidal pools from materials found in the same area. And this research will mostly be about monitoring or creating a monitoring method for the tidal pools. And on the other hand, think about a framework how to scale this. So scale this in the sense of making more of them in the same place, but as well in different locations, and how the characteristics of this design will be different. So we will be working together on a monitoring method and a scaling out framework.
All right, thank you. And you have another one. Just 1 second. Yeah.
So this is the other one. Urban Reef is a startup in Rotterdam that works with 3D printing regenerative structures. So kind of the idea of the shapes that you make for corals, but then as well in cities. And they are trying to change their materials. At this point, they're working on ceramic materials. The idea is to scale up with a 6-axis robot extrusion system and see if there are any good alternatives to Portland cement printing. So we will be going to Rotterdam as well for a 30-day scientist residency.
Okay. Thank you, Pierre. So again, please, when applying to a short-term scientific mission challenge, beware of the expected profile mentioned by the owners of this short-term scientific mission. The same rule applies as for virtual mobility grants. So if you are unable to deliver the expected results, either because, either they are too complicated. We can obviously, this is not, this is a scientific mission, so you may not be able to reach all the objectives that are set out, but this really depends on the feedback of the host institution and of your host supervisor as well. And yeah, so for this, that's it. For the applicants, so all applications must be submitted via eCost. You must submit also your report after the completion of your grant. All grants are paid only after approval of the final report, and they must start and end during the single period, the grant period, so 31st of October. And failure to submit a report, which is it's a one-page report, will result in no reimbursement. So all the grants open on the 4th of May. Please do not submit anything before this date. Feel free to go through the different PDFs that are online. You can check them out, but do not submit an application before this day. We also would like to feature some of the third-party conferences and training opportunities for you. So one of them is the Biodesign Conference. If you have, so it's the first international conference on emerging research, crossroads of design, biology, computation, and sustainability, which is very closely aligned with the DESIGNAE network. If you have a paper which was already submitted and approved for this conference, we highly encourage you to apply for conference grants. We also have this training opportunity in Trento, Italy. So this is a training school specific for bio-inspired and regenerative technologies. We do not have specific funding for this, but if you are a DESIGNAE member, you will have access to a discount registration fee to attend this training school. So more information, please drop an email with Yao. And finally, another conference here organized by one of the leadership members in Belgrade, Serbia, focuses on mathematical modeling. It's specific about Workgroup 3. There are no registration fees, so please feel free to also apply here. And that's it for open calls for grants. If you have any question, please feel free to put it in the chat of the YouTube session. And before we go through your questions, I think we still have time. I will also make the open call for hosts. So who can host a meeting, a workshop, or other type of cost action events? So it's any researcher or innovator with an affiliation with a legal entity in a COST-full cooperating member, which is any of these countries. An European RTD, so CERN, ESA, so these are some of these examples, but the full list of affiliations is available in this PDF file. Any legal entity in a near neighbor country, which is here, or any legal entity in a third state. So here or here, this is also possible. To be a local organizer and to host a meeting, please be sure that you have authorization from your local legal institutional entity, which should be the dean, the vice dean, or the director, or the CEO of the company. Or so you should have a legal internal authorization to act as a host. And this host institution must agree to comply with the cost rules for local organizers. So this is within the cost annotator rules. I put here the PDF file. It's page 91 to 95, so it's 4 pages, very easy to read, to go through. And also, please, if you apply, you should have some sort of local organizational capacity for administrative processes as well as logistical processes. So what are the benefits of hosting? There are several. You can increase visibility and reputation, your own visibility and reputation, and of your host institution as well. Builds international connections and set the stage for joint projects, publications, or for future funding opportunities. You can also influence the agenda of that specific meeting or workshop and align this to the strengths and interests of your own institution. Opportunities for your team and your students. So all local colleagues, researchers, students can attend more easily these workshops or meetings. There's also institutional learning and capacity building. So if you organize this type of international events, you enhance your administrative and organizational performance. You can also showcase, this is highly encouraged, showcase local research and infrastructure. So highlighting which type of lab capabilities you have, which type of projects are being undertaken in your institution, what is your regional ecosystem as well. And also you have potential long-term impact. So if you run this event well, you can have follow-up activities, more proposals, participating training schools and publications. We have this online form set up so you can apply. Feel free to do so. There are certain pop-up questions in this form. First, that you acknowledge the cost rules for a local organizer, that you have received an internal authorization from your host institution. You have a certain level, a minimum level of experience in organizing events. minimum capacity internally, and that you are a DESIGNAE registered member. Again, if you're not, feel free to register now. It's the DESIGNAE is always open. As for the rules, so this is, I'm just going to go through very quickly about these rules for the local organizers. These rules are available in the annotated rules. So the local organizer support is paid as a grant only after the event has ended. The amount of the grant depends on the format. So is this a face-to-face event? Is this an hybrid event? Or is this an online event? The number of unique participants who were invited in eCost and signed the attendance list. So if you are organizing, we will provide you a list of participants, and all of them should sign their presence in the event. And it also the amount of the grant depends on the duration of the events. So here is the table also that you can find in the annotated rules, which differ according to the number of days, so 1, 2, 3 days or more, and the number of participants. So for face-to-face or hybrid events, it can go up to 1,000 euros for up to 25 participants, 2 days, 2,000 euros, 3 days, 3.5K, etc., etc. We also have for online events, although at the moment we're not betting on this type of events, because we want people to meet face to face, to really learn and exchange experiences. So what are eligible expenses that are allocated to host institutions? For face-to-face events, rental or rooms for rooms, audiovisual materials, poster stands, any type of printing programs, handouts, materials, book of abstracts, book of proceedings, flyers. All of these printed materials should follow the visual identity of cost, which I'm letting you know is here. Refreshments, so anything, so what we call coffee breaks, but here they call refreshments. So snacks, beverages, not intended to include lunch or dinner, because these are already covered by the daily allowance of participants. Collective bus transfer to the venue. So this refers to the transfer of all participants from a point to the venue, to the event venue, when it is in a remote location without adequate public transport. So beware of how you use collective bus transfer. It does not include airport travels to hotels. Okay, so beware of how you allocate bus transfer. Field trip expenses, whenever relevant to the objectives of the approved meeting or the training school. It also includes administrative support and cancellation insurance of the event. We also have another set of eligible expenses for online events, which you can see later on, and also for hybrid events. For the local organizer responsibilities. So if you are a local organizer, these are some of the things that you should think about. So what is the venue? What are the organizational and logistical aspects that you should think about? You will connect with our grant holder manager to provide details about the budget and organizational aspects. The grant holder manager will ensure that all the participants that were selected to participate in that meeting are invited via eCost platform. So imagine if you have a guest list of 15 participants, all of them should be invited officially through eCost. Otherwise, their participation is not accounted for. for the grant. You will also connect with the action chair, vice chair, and action leaders, the work group leaders for setting up the content and program. You will collect the signatures during the event. So everyone that attends should sign the attendance list. You may never charge registration fees to participants. So events organized by COST have no registration fees. They are free of charge. The local organizer may request a prepayment for lunches or social dinners, or require participants to pay on site. So this is also another thing that you can do. Again, so after the event, you will have the attendance list, which you will have to share with the grant holder institution, which is the University of Aveiro. You will share also the bank details of your institution, encode the final number of unique participants in the event. And the grant holder manager may ask for supporting documents, so invoices related to the organization of that event. The support grant shall always be paid into an institutional bank account. So do not pay anything from your personal bank account when you are a local organizer hosting for your host institution. So it should always be an institutional bank account. And should be paid also after the event has taken place, according to the attendance list, which influences the amount of money you have you will be reimbursed for. And also the VAT, so the value added tax, is a non-eligible expense. The local organizer should also keep invoices, receipts, timesheets, and the original signed attendance log list for a period of up to 9 years. So this is something that the COST Association requires. So for events that are in which DESIGNAE participants, please follow the visual identity for the communication materials. Before the event, please communicate your expected budget to the grant holder manager, and so that we can lock the funding for that specific event. And although not mandatory, it is always good practice to ask different budgets for the same service and then select amongst different companies whenever possible. And then after the event, do not forget to digitalize the signed attendance list and provide invoices with specific information details. So the invoices should have the company's name, address, and VAT number. So if you are buying refreshments from a company, you should have this, the name of the company, the address and the VAT number, the description of the eligible goods and services. So in this case, it would be refreshments for 25th of March, for instance, the invoice number, the host institution's name and address, and the name and date of the event, a total amount without VAT, and a total amount with VAT. And I think that's it. This was the call to host a meeting, workshop, or other event. And now I think we will go through the questions, if you have any.
I placed them in the chat.
You have? Okay.
On YouTube, I already gave short answers, but maybe it's good if you give some context.
Okay, so let me just go to the chat. I may not be able to answer to all of these questions because some of them may be too specific, but I'll try my best to answer them now, and if I don't know it, I will email you with the information. Okay, so is there any grant for workgroup participants living outside of Europe? Yes. It depends on where outside Europe. Is it a near neighbor country? Is it a cooperating country? This establishes how you can access the funding and which type of funding and how many times. So for instance, if you are from South America, you will you are eligible to get the funds, but only one time during the entire action. So it has some certain restrictions. This is actually something that is well explained within the annotated rules. Will you share this presentation? The presentation will be online, okay? So this is the recorded presentation. I can also put it online somewhere in the grants webpage in the DESIGNAE websites. This is something possible and that I can do. That's fine.
Also share the link in the YouTube.
All right, awesome, thank you. Would it be possible to join virtual mobility grants of other work groups beyond work group that we are signed up to? Yes, it is possible. If you have the requested expected skills, or yes, please feel free to do this. What is the expected minimum short-term scientific mission duration? Yes, so this is something that I wrongfully typed within the presentation, but the minimum amount of days is 3 days, without excluding the travel days. Okay, so it shouldn't be traveling, then 1 day there and then traveling again. So it's 3 full days excluding the travel, the travels. Some actions accept 1 week, some require minimum 3 weeks. Yeah, it really depends on the type of action. So in ours, it's minimum 3 days, and you can go up to whichever you want. Just beware of the calculation formula to for the daily allowance. This is something that is within the guidelines for grants. Are all these activities intended for students and young research? So do you also accept other participants? We accept all types of participants. Again, so if you have beware of, for instance, in conference grants, the cost action has different, they allocate different types of grants. If you are a young career researcher, then it should be a young researcher conference grant. If you are from an ITC country, inclusiveness target country, then you can apply to ITC conference grants. So, and even for short-term scientific missions, even for virtual mobility grants, it's not mandatory to be a young researcher. So this is open for everyone. Where can we submit our own short-term scientific missions? So you have to follow the same guideline. It's exactly the same guideline. So you will have to open the grants, the grant applications for, maybe I can show them here. Just 1 second. Yeah, okay, they're here. All right, I'll show them to you, it's easier. Okay. So this is the webpage for challenges and open call for grants. Beware that please do not apply before the 4th of May. Applicants of workgroup members sorry. So if you're not yet a part of DESIGNAE, you can apply directly in this link. Read the guidelines for each type of grant, please. All applications must be submitted via ECOS, so in this link here. You have access here to what I presented today and our colleagues presented. So specific work groups, expected profiles, etc. You have the supporting documents of each of the grants. So you have a guideline for short-term scientific mission, you have an application form, a report form, and then a review form, but this is for reviewers only. feel free to go through these documents and reach out if you have any specific question that is not clarified in these documents. This is already online, but the calls are not yet open. Again, if you apply before the 4th, your application will be rejected. Do you have a specific list of researchers or professors who are offering to host short-term scientific mission under their supervision? So for this first stage, this is something that we will do. So for this first stage, we asked the core group to reflect on which type of short-term scientific missions would make sense. Another stage would be to open a call to host short-term scientific missions in the entire network to understand who is willing to host an international student or an international professor or innovator. And then later on, we would share this information with you. But it's not something that we have right now. What I would propose is perhaps within the workgroup meetings, if you're interested in a specific workgroup, to attend the online workgroup meeting, which will be, you should receive emails if you're part of that workgroup, and ask that question directly to the leadership. So I want to make a short-term scientific mission. Is there any available host institution to do this short-term scientific mission? I'm looking for collaborators here. And I mean, you can find them directly within the workgroup, online workgroup meeting, or perhaps the leader can exchange with you some contacts that may be of interest to you. What is required to join the management committee? Yes, so this is very specific to each country. To join, we have 29 countries represented within the management committee already. You should contact the local organization of your country to assess if both places are already occupied for this for the management committee. So each country can elect up to two people. But this is something you can also find within the Cost Action network. So perhaps I can show this to you as well. Just one second. So if you go to CA, Cost Action CA 24126, which is the code of our Cost Action. You have here management committee members and the countries that are already registered. If you don't see your country and have high interest in applying, you have to go to main contacts and leadership, I think. Or where is it? I cannot recall. Management committee. Here. Management committee nominations are carried out through COST national coordinator. So you can click here and check who is your national coordinator and ask specifically which are the requirements to apply. Can we apply for more than one grant, such as applying for 2 different short-term scientific missions and hosting grants? If we are eligible, you can apply to different grants, yes. But it's very probable that you will not get both of them because of the cost policies. So they want to distribute the opportunities, and this is something that we need to comply with. All right. Are there any more questions? No? Okay. Well, I think I'm going to close this. Thank you, everyone. I will make this presentation available again on YouTube, and also the online PDF online in the grant section, the grant menu. And thank you all. And I'm happy that we are starting off 4 years duration of this cost action. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. See you soon. Ciao. Ciao.
Nina.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Ciao.